Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today is, well, it's a big one, and honestly a little alarming. We're navigating this sudden, almost stealthy shift of AI from just being a chatbot.
And to be an agent.
Exactly, an agent. For years, we've had AI that talks to us, but now we're finally in the era of AI that acts for you.
And this is the inflection point we've all been talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
The theory is over. We've wondered about AI that can plan, that can run multi-step tasks, check its own work, and now it's actually rolling out.
Right, and today we're doing a deep dive into two really critical and parallel developments. We've got Anthropic's Claude Cowork on one side and Fly.io's Spites.dev on the other.
Two sides of the same coin, really.
They really are, and they highlight this core tension that has to be solved, which is you have this incredible agent power, but you also need the security infrastructure to handle it.
Yeah, our sources for this really get into the weeds on what it takes to make agents safe enough for, regular people. And then, of course, the ethical stuff that pops up when an AI starts messing with your files.
So the core question we're trying to answer for you today is this. How do you actually give an AI the power to browse the web, run commands, and act on your local computer without it, burning the whole thing down?
Because if the answer isn't very, very carefully, then this whole revolution just stops.
And it's a lot more complicated than a simple allow button.
Oh, way more complicated. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with the usability side of things, because that's really the front door for everyone. Anthropic just shipped Claude Cowork.
A research preview, they're calling it.
Right, a research preview. But the positioning is key. They're calling it Claude Code for the rest of your work. And it's only for their top-tier Max subscribers inside the macOS desktop app.
And what's so interesting about that is the rebrand. I mean, Claude Code was always a general-purpose agent. It could do all this stuff.
Sure.
But it was hidden behind this, Linux terminal interface, which just scares off 99% of people. Cowork is then basically saying, okay, this power is for everybody now.
They completely stripped away the jargon. You don't see the word command. You don't see terminal. It's just a friendly new tab next to chat and code. The workflow is so simple, you give it a task.
And you can drag a folder onto it.
Right. Optionally attach a folder, and then you just let it go.
And that's where you see the bright line between a chatbot and a true agent. A chatbot gives you advice. An agent makes a plan. It starts executing. It sees what happens, and it adjusts.
The test case from our sources was so perfect because it's a task I think everyone has. The user basically pointed Cowork at this messy folder of half-written blog posts.
The I'll get to it later pile.
The digital I'll do it later pile. And the prompt was so human. It was like, find drafts I started in the last 3 months, check if I already published them on my website, and then tell me which ones are closest to being done.
That's such a great example of just cognitive load. None of those steps are hard on their own. But stringing them all together, that's what we put off. It involves finding files, checking dates, reading them, and then that crucial step of going outside the local system to check for duplicates.
And it just went to work. Found 46 drafts. But here's the detail that made me go, wow. To see if they were already published, it ran 44 separate web searches.
44. It didn't guess, it didn't assume, it checked. Every single one.
It validated its own work.
That's the agent capability. That's the difference maker. So the output you get back isn't just a list of files. It's a prioritized, actionable shortlist of what to do next. It vaporizes that productivity-killing task.
And we have to mention the fun part, because AI can't just be work. The artifacts feature.
Oh yeah, this is great.
The user asked it to make a little animated page to motivate them to publish, and it spit out this over-the-top page with confetti and emoji rain and quotes.
And that's the stuff that makes a tool sticky. An agent that can whip up a quick graph or a checklist or a ridiculous animated page, that becomes indispensable really fast.
But that brings us right back to the central problem. If it can run 44 web searches and build a web page, it has real power. So how are they controlling that? How is this safe?
And this is where we get into the infrastructure. Because the sources pointed out this tiny little clue hidden in the very first command Cowork ran.
The file path.
The file path, exactly. When it started looking at the files, the path was something like session zealous bold Ramanujan blog drafts.
Okay, that looks like gibberish to me. What does that tell you?
That gibberish is everything. That tells you the agent is not running on your main computer. It's isolated. That SYN part means the folder you gave it was mounted into a separate containerized environment.
Ah, so it's a sandbox.
It is a strict sandbox. The agent has zero access to your whole machine. It can only see and touch the specific files you put in the box with it.
So it's a safety cage, a very, very restrictive one. You give it a little slice of your machine to play in, and that's it.
And the way they built it is really interesting. The source material says they're using Apple's own virtualization framework, VZ Virtual Machine.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
It means they're prioritizing native performance on macOS. Instead of using something cross-platform like Docker, which can be heavy, they're embedding a tiny custom Linux machine right inside the Claude app. It's all pre-configured. They handle the security so the user doesn't even have to know what a sandbox is.
Which makes total sense for a research preview on one platform. But even with a great sandbox, you still have the human problem. Prompt injection.
And that's still the headline vulnerability for sure. Prompt injection is when there's some kind of malicious instruction hidden in a web page or a document you tell the agent to look at.
And it hijacks the agent's brain, basically.
It tries to steer it into doing something bad, like deleting files or sending your data somewhere else.
Now, Anthropic does warn you. They say, avoid sensitive files, be careful what you browse, watch for suspicious actions.
But come on, let's be real. As the source said, telling a normal person to watch for suspicious actions is not a security strategy. It's completely unrealistic.
Right. You won't know it's suspicious until it's too late.
Exactly. But this is why the sandbox is so important. It reduces the blast radius. If an attack works, the damage is contained only to the files you put in that folder. That's your baseline safety.
So the sandbox is the floor. It's the minimum viable safety. But we need more layers on top.
Absolutely. And they're working on it. Things like using summarization to filter out malicious instructions before they get the main AI. But for now, that VZ Virtual Machine Sandbox is the thing that makes it possible to ship Cowork at all. Without it, it's just too risky.
Okay, so that brings us perfectly to the other side of this coin. If Cowork is the bet on usability for the masses,
then Fly.io Sprites.dev is the infrastructure bet for the developers building these agents.
Right, they're coming at the exact same problem, how to safely run powerful, untrusted agents, but from the platform up.
And the definition for Sprites is so simple and powerful. Stateful sandbox environments with checkpoint and restore. It's like a high-end, developer-first sandbox machine, but also an API.
What's the real difference between a Sprite and, say, just a normal cloud VM or a container?
It's really two things. The experience and this one killer capability. The experience is a real machine. We're talking 8 gigs of RAM, 8 CPUs, with all the modern AI tools pre-installed. But the crucial part is that it's stateful. It's persistent.
So unlike a normal container that you just throw away.
Exactly. This one sticks around. The agent has a home. It can install things. It can work on a project, leave it half finished. And when it comes back tomorrow, everything is exactly as it left it.
That feels essential for any kind of real autonomous work.
It is. But here's the superpower, the thing that makes it all practical. Point-in-time checkpoints. You can save the entire state of that machine, the OS, the files, everything, in a few hundred milliseconds.
Wait, so it's like an unlimited, super fast undo button for the whole computer.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it completely changes the game for experimenting with agents. It makes YOLO mode actually safe.
Huh. I like that.
You can tell an agent, hey, try this crazy thing, and if it installs some bad package or a command just destroys the environment, you just roll back to the last checkpoint. It encourages you to experiment without fear.
And the tech behind the checkpoints is pretty clever. It's not just a big backup file.
No, it's super efficient. It's all managed from the command line. They're versioned, and it uses a copy-on-write system. So it only stores the changes between checkpoints, which makes them tiny and fast. You can even mount the last 5 checkpoints and just pull out a single file from a previous version if you need to.
Wow, that's really granular control. Okay, that covers the developer side. What about API security? If other people's agents are running on this.
This is maybe the most important part. Their API is deny by default for networking, meaning the agent can't talk to the internet at all unless you explicitly let it. You have to create a policy that says, okay, you are allowed to talk to github.com, or you are allowed to talk to .npmjs.org to install packages.
That's just smart, practical security. So if a prompt injection attack does happen, the hijacked agent can't just phone home to a malicious server.
Not unless you accidentally approve that malicious domain first. It puts a hard barrier in place.
And then the pricing model ties it all together.
Right, scale to 0.
Yeah.
It idles quickly, so you're not paying much when you're not using it, which again encourages people to play around and experiment. So you have Cowork making agents easy to use, and Sprites making the underlying infrastructure safe and stateful.
So now that we've established that the power is here and the safety infrastructure is finally catching up, we have to talk about the fallout. The ecosystem shifts that are, I think, inevitable.
Especially around speed. The speed problem is it's a tectonic shift. We're seeing agents that can port an entire complex code base from, say, Python to Rust with passing tests in a few hours.
A task that would take a human team weeks, maybe months.
Exactly. And that speed forces these really uncomfortable conversations about, licensing, credit, intellectual property. If the original project was open source, what is the agent's output?
It has to be a derivative work, right?
Ethically and legally, yes. You have to keep the original license, you have to give credit, you have to be transparent. But the bigger problem isn't just the legal side, it's the health of the open source ecosystem itself.
Ah, right. The worry about ecosystem decay.
Yeah. Why would I go find and use and contribute back to a well-maintained open source library if I can just ask an agent to generate a good enough version of that function for me right here, right now?
And if everyone does that,
If everyone does that, you starve the big projects. You cut off the traffic, the bug reports, the community contributions, the funding,
yeah.
all the things that keep those foundational open source projects alive. You could hollow out the pillars of the internet.
That's a huge potential disruption. You're trading long-term stability for short-term convenience.
But there's an upside too, which the sources highlight. When you collapse that barrier to entry, you massively expand the number of people who can build software. An expert can focus on high-level architecture, while an agent handles all the tedious boilerplate and porting. It's a profound democratization of creation.
So the path forward for now seems to be just honesty. Be a good citizen. If you use an agent to build something, label it as alpha or experimental. Don't pretend it's battle-hardened until it's actually been tested by real humans in the real world.
It's the only way. So ultimately, this whole agent era really comes down to these two bets paying off at the same time. You have Cowork's proving agents can be made useful and safe for normal everyday work.
And you have sprites proving that the stateful, repeatable, secure sandboxing needed to manage them can be standardized and made available to every developer.
The second that usability and that safe infrastructure become mainstream and accessible, that's when the agent era stops being a cool demo.
And starts being the default way we work.
Absolutely. So considering the power we saw in that Cowork example, taking on that complex multi-step task that would normally just rot in a to-do list, we'll leave you with this final thought. What routine, complex, time-consuming process in your own life, sitting right now in your own giant I'll-do-it-later pile, will be the first one you're willing to trust, completely, to an action-executing AI agent knowing it's locked safely inside that digital cage?